So I don't think I've got any particular lobbying news to bring you up to speed on, apart from two very quick things, just to tell you what we're dealing with government on at the moment. The first is the price and availability of raw materials. A lot of difficulty for many of our members around getting hold of materials at all, and when they can, the price going up. We've heard of reports of up to 600% hike rise in steel. In fact, someone you'll all know, that I say you, the guests on the call, Pete Goss is about to do a build, and he's got planning permission for his eco house, and the costs of building it have just tripled. So it's probably going to have to go on pause until the construction materials flatten out. But we are speaking to government about sorting out the tariffs and sorting out the quotas to ensure that the construction materials prices can come down. And the second thing we're speaking to government on, really massive issue, is about skills and getting available talent. So where we thought there would be a massive hike in unemployment at the end of the furlough period and at the end of the pandemic as we emerge, whilst there may be some unemployment, there are sectors that are really struggling. Leisure, hospitality and tourism are reporting being unable to open to full operations. Some venues only opening for a few days a week. They just can't get the staff. Some offering £1,000 to bar staff as a golden handshake just to get them to join. It is that difficult to get the talent. It's absolute madness. So I spoke to British Chambers of Commerce yesterday, and they are today taking to government with some urgent asks. We're looking at what that could mean from a policy point of view, but that may include things like ensuring that offenders who are suitable and appropriate, if they can be released early to work in those industries, can. For example, agriculture. So with having no migrant workers here at the moment, there is a genuine danger of crops dying in the field unpicked. So we're looking at how do we get workers there, opening travel corridors for migrant workers from safe countries. Controversially, considering should some sectors have the furlough scheme ended to bring people back and bring skills back, force that to change. So there's a whole bunch of things we're looking at to ensure we plug that skills gap. So,
Stuart, if I may, could I just say something for 2 seconds, please?
Yeah, if you're very quick, because the speaker's about to start.
Yeah, got that. But on skills, could the Chamber of Commerce also mention the apprenticeship levy, £1 billion handed back last year, 837 billion the previous year. The apprenticeship levy scheme needs looking at for skills.
Yes, and it is, and that is on the national agenda. Thank you, Ashley. So, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut it short, but I just didn't want to overrun today. We are desperately keen to stay on time. Thanks, Ashley. So it's 9:40, and I promised the speakers that I'd be ruthless on time. So I'm going to hand over to Councillor Nick Kelly, leader of Plymouth City Council. Thank you for joining us. Over to you, Nick.
Thank you, Stuart, and thank you for the introduction. Good morning to all in the chamber. I will try to be as brief as possible and go at the speed that some of these boats go, but I'm going to give you an overview and the business advantages for Sail GP. Sail GP coming to Plymouth is a real kudos event for us in the city, and also on this call I'm an exalted sailing company, so if there's any technical questions, please save them for the sailing fraternity amongst us. Anyway, Sail GP is one of the most exciting, fastest and biggest sailing events in the world. It's 8 nations competing on identical F50 catamarans racing in excess of 50 knots with 8 cities across the world. Plymouth is staging the 3rd leg of this event on the 17th and 18th of July, and the previous legs were in Bermuda and Taranto in Italy. We're really an exalted company because other destinations include Sydney and Saint-Tropez, so we really are up there with worldwide renowned cities and places. The technical area is going to be in Mill Bay on Trinity Pier and Clyde Quay, with a race village up on Plymouth Hoe. The COVID-conscious on-water experiences will enable spectators to get close to the athletes and experience the thrill of Sail GP, which will be the pinnacle event in Plymouth in 2021. Next slide, please, Jasmine. Plymouth was selected as a host for the Great Britain Sail Grand Prix following a competitive 6-month-long process against 5 other UK cities. So we really have fought hard to get this event to come to Plymouth. And Sail GP forms a key part of the city's COVID-19 recovery programme, and as part of a major event strategy will boost the economy in a range of sectors and bring direct investment to the city. Next slide, please, Jasmine. So as you can see, up close, it's really exciting with in-your-face sailing. It's massive global positioning opportunities for Plymouth and will have a huge economic impact on the city, which is desperately needed following the COVID shutdown that we've had. So major events such as Sail GP bring more to the city than just fan excitement, although that will be fantastic. In addition to the thrills on the on-sea action, Sail GP will funnel millions of pounds into the local economy, whilst attracting global attention and supplying the city with a boost for tourism. As you can see, it's pretty action-packed with the speeds that they go. Next slide, please, Jasmine. This event is obviously a blue ribbon event, but we've got to look at the commercial side too, and it's expected to deliver significant economic growth to the tune of 20 million for Plymouth, with extensive inward investment to benefit the local economy. Plymouth will be promoted as a global destination, is set to receive coverage worth £5 million in media value through promotion and featuring on Sail GP event global coverage. Next slide, please, Jasmine. So as you can see, they're high-tech boats. It's very colourful. It's really a fantastic spectacle out on the waters and the amphitheatre to Plymouth Sound. So Sail GP is really trailblazing in technology and innovation, and we'll use this event as a springboard to shine a spotlight on our work. Marine Tech Expo, being held on the 12th and 13th of July, is aligned to this event to highlight Plymouth's strengths in the marine technology and automation sector. Along with our free zone status, marine technology really is a key part for our future of our city to bring in inward investment and the high value, high salary jobs and expertise that we crave in the city. Next slide, please, Jasmine. So throughout the event, we'll engage in diverse range of communities throughout and through the Inspire programme, educating the next generation about the power of nature. We've got some real prominent sailors with a local connection on this Zoom call this morning, which I'm delighted. And hopefully we will have new Conrad Humphreys, etc., coming out from our city and really up our credentials as the centre for sailing in the UK. So partnering with Plymouth City Council, Sail GP's Inspire learning educational opportunities for diverse groups of young people will be conducted through guided technical based tours, while on the water sailing experiences will be supported at the Mountbatten Water Sports and Activities Centre, Plymouth Youth Sailing and Horizons Plymouth. This enriching exposure to the maritime industry will showcase behind the scenes operations and create an unforgettable knowledge building experience. Next slide, please, Jasmine. I just love those retro pictures too. So hopefully this will be the British team celebrating on the British leg. Not that we're biased at all, but you know, we'll be cheering them on in our droves up there. The COVID regulations unfortunately cover this weekend, the restrictions hopefully being lifted the day after, but we are really wanting people to come and enjoy the spectacle and remain socially distant and compliant. We will have a lot of enforcement up and around the Hoe and over at Mountbatten Pier to try to make the event go as smoothly as possible. So all the inward investment, the publicity is great, but what we're also looking to do is the youth engagement, and it ranges from first timers on the water and school opportunities to elite training of the next Olympians, always with a 50-50 gender split, working with sports development and education to deliver a first time on the water and STEM program, including a powered by nature STEM fast at the Lido and targeted opportunities for young people in the north of the city. With a 365-day environment program, we will benefit from a focus on sustainability through our program created to link to the event. We have created a bespoke sustainability program around the event linked with existing initiatives such as the Seagrass Project and the National Marine Park. Bringing Sail GP to the city further supports Plymouth's ambitions as a national marine park and its growing cluster of marine science and autonomy sector businesses. And the final slide, please, Jasmine. So it just remains for me to say, really, hopefully I've whetted your appetite. I'm sure the sailors will get extremely wet. I did meet a couple of grinders from the British team up on the Hoe, Stuart, you'll know, and they are big chaps. You know, these are real powerful Olympic athletes, and it is the elite of the racing sport with the speeds that they reach. For our city, really, all I ask is come embrace the event, look, enjoy and learn, and I think this really will be a fantastic event to showcase Plymouth and all what Plymouth wants to be in the future. Thanks very much for listening and thanks for your time.
Thank you, Nick. That was great, and I completely agree. I mean, funnily enough, two people yesterday sent me photos from London Underground with pictures of Plymouth with those images, and isn't it great? I sometimes get slightly frustrated when I hear people in Plymouth saying, "Oh, we don't market ourselves enough abroad." I go, "How do you know? Were you abroad? You're not the market we're marketing to." But no, I agree, and absolutely fantastic. I've lucky enough to have a friend with a boat who's got tickets to be on one of the gates on the water to see the boats turn. And I shouldn't say this, but hopefully have a few incidents with nobody getting hurt. The guys are super fit athletes. You're absolutely right. But sadly, I understand the average weight of a grinder, what I think Nick will probably tell us, is something like 86 kilograms. So I'm just over, but I have to tell all our sailors that I am available for last minute crew should there be anyone drop out. I'm just saying, hashtag just saying, I am available to crew and can't wait for a trip on the boats. I can even stuff a large envelope of cash in anyone's hand if I need to be able to be taken out on the water on one of those, because that is the dream for a sailor, to get out on one of these things. They are absolutely the dog's doodahs. Right, so without further ado, let's hand over to Andy Hindley, Chief Executive of TradeSun, former around the world skipper of the BT Global Challenge, race director for Volvo Ocean Race, Chief Operating Officer of the America's Cup Race Management. Is there anything in the sailing world you haven't done, Andy?
Yeah, a couple of things. Yeah, I'm not as good as Nick on the grinding, that's for sure. So yeah, I've done a few things. I've enjoyed it, and unfortunately, I had to give that up. Got a little bit old and moved into the administration of the sport, and that's where I ended up at the Volvo Ocean Race and the America's Cup. And then I moved on from the sport, working for TradeSun, which is a fintech based out of California. Extremely boring, so I won't bore you with the details. But you highlighted the skills shortage. We're trying to hire at the minute and really finding it difficult to find tech savvy people at the right price, to the extent that recently we offered someone $20,000 over what they were earning, and he just took that back to his existing company, and they increased his salary by $25,000. So yeah, that's an increase. That's not the amount they're paying him. So you're right about the skills shortage and the STEM agenda. So fully supportive of all the efforts that everyone can put into that. So thank you for that. I did live in Plymouth for 4 years when I was training skipper for the challenge, and I've been lucky enough, as you said, in my sailing career to lived on all three sides of an event, as the venue organizer, as the organizer or owner of the event, bringing it to the venue, and as a team on the team side. And in fact, I was in the same team as Nick in the original Land Rover BAR days. So we have a little bit of history going back there. And front and center of all these events are the sailors. You've already mentioned them several times, and that you've met them, and they are impressive athletes. But a lot of the magic, and this is where Conrad comes in and he'll appreciate this, a lot of the magic happens behind the scenes. Now, I think that's the thing that you also need to focus on as a chamber, and look to for multiple things, which I'll touch on in a second. A lot of people seem to think that all this magic happens, the fairies at the bottom of the garden do it when no one's looking. But it actually takes quite a lot of time to get it all set up. And I think you need to include that in your calculations when you're looking to maximize the return or calculate the return for the city. The TV figures, they'll be provided, as you said. I'm sure they will. The visitor numbers, you'll calculate those, and I'm sure you'll do that. But it's the spend behind the scenes and the activity that I think sometimes get overlooked, and I'm hoping that you've got a plan for that, and you're on top of it. And I think you should also utilize some of the individuals. Stuart Gentry, who's the head of operations and logistics for SailGP, used to work for me some years ago. He's an ex-Royal Marine Commando and had spent some time in Plymouth. So there's an opportunity there, I think, to speak to people who've had involvement in the city in their past life, but are now working in the event industry. His team, well, they'll be arriving now, I would imagine, if they're not already there. So I would hope that some of them have already arrived and the setup has begun, working closely with Conrad, I'm sure. But every time somebody arrives, it's hotels, it's cars, it's food, it's drink, it's activities. And that's just the beginning. So then you get the team advanced parties arriving to help set their bases up. You get the race officials arriving, you know, America's Cup Race Management that I used to be the chief operating officer for. It's 50 plus people. And we used to take those people, and they never make it on TV. They never make it in the media, but they're there for a long period of time. So the arrival period is essentially like a bell curve. You know, it starts off quite small, it accelerates, and then it disappears. But then there's still people there packing up for days, if not weeks, after the event. And all that time, they're still contributing to the economy. And I think there's an opportunity there to also leverage some media outlets and highlight some of the sectors that are involved in the event that don't normally get that publicity. So I think they'll be very, very grateful for it. So everything from your classics, your food and beverage, but your boat hire, your marina fuel, your services industries, providing all the goods, the hire equipment, the lifting equipment, the handling equipment, all those things that all add to the economic impact and provide benefit to everybody, which I think is probably the most important thing for you guys in the chamber. And I think there's opportunities there both locally, as I've said, but also nationally. Where do the boats arrive on the ship? Boats being shipped, boats being unloaded. It's a story that can be told. It's stuff that happens, as I said, behind the scenes. Nobody really gives it a thought, but someone has to pack all this stuff up. They have to load it onto containers. They have to take it to a ship. They have to put it on the ship. It has to go from the ship. Ships have to, you know, the impact of that vessel arriving in the country, or whether it's in Plymouth or elsewhere, is quite significant, particularly at this point with the restrictions on shipping. And then internationally, you've got an awful lot of international stars, rock stars from the sailing world coming. So I'm sure you've got plans to maximize those. And I think just selling the story locally, and I'm sure Conrad's going to talk about this, you've got the tents and the hospitality venues being erected. You've got teams arriving from all over the world, as I've said, COVID allowing. You've got countdown to race day, of course, very important. And then the event is the icing on the cake. It provides that outlet, that opportunity to showcase Plymouth to the world. But what I'd urge you is don't forget that sponge layer that sits at the bottom of the cake that supports it from the foundation. I think there's a great opportunity to use that to make sure that you get the most from the event. I've got a little bit of video which Jasmine's going to show. It comes from 2011. It doesn't show anything behind the scenes because they don't film that, but what it will do is it will give you an idea of what I hope you'll see, action on the water from the old days, and I'm sure Nick's got some footage that's going to show you more about what it's going to look like in the new days, where the boats have just got faster and faster. So Jasmine, over to you to take that away.
Do you think you know what sailing's all about? Think you know sailing? This is the America's Cup.
some fast and furious action. So I think all that remains is to say good luck, and I hope the weather's kind.
Thank you, Andy. So do I, because I'll be out and about bouncing around at that gate. No matter what's happening, I shall be out there seeing it. I mean, that's just such exciting stuff. And I mean, just give us a sense, Andy, for the athletes. I mean, I know you said focus on what's going on behind the scenes. Absolutely, that's your part in this. But these guys are real athletes, aren't they?
Yes, they're quite incredible athletes, to be honest. I've had the pleasure of, or the pain actually, of training with them on occasion and sailing with them now and again. And I do remember, if anyone goes to the gym and sits on the rowing machine, the Concept 2, I remember talking to Freddie Carr, whilst he was 11 kilometers into a 22-kilometer row. And he was just sitting there just chatting to me like I'm chatting to you, rowing at a pretty good pace, and just able to have a conversation after already having rowed over 11 kilometers on a rowing machine. And I think those days they weren't as fit as they are now. So yeah, they're incredible athletes.
Super fit and super exciting. Thanks, Andy. And you're absolutely right. I'm very aware of how much this brings to the supply chain. You know, they reckon events like this bring anywhere between 4 and 20 times what the initial spend is. So whatever you think is being spent, you then multiply that through the supply chain. And this is an argument we're having. I say an argument. This is what we're pushing to government, is this additional support for leisure, hospitality, and tourism, because you can say, well, the hotels or restaurants will reopen when they do, but actually, of course, it's not just the leisure, the hotel or the restaurant. It's the food and drink industry. It's the people who supply the linens. It's the people who supply the silverware. It's the people, and there's knock-on effect. An economy's got its own momentum, and it's important we keep that momentum going. Thank you so much, Andy. Really appreciate that. It is 10 o'clock, so we will hand over now to Conrad Humphreys. Thank you, Conrad, so much for stepping in at the last minute to help us out with this. And over to you. Come in, Conrad.
I think you're on mute, Conrad.
How's that? Can you all hear me now? I'll start again. I was just saying thanks to Andy for that great introduction. There's a huge amount going on behind the scenes, as you will all fully appreciate, and you know, it's a little bit like 2011. You know, that event arrived in Plymouth without you know, a huge amount of pre-planning and pre-notice. So, you know, an awful lot was achieved that time round, and this time round, because of the pandemic and so on, it's been a challenge to get everything in place. But you know, there is a fabulous track record with the season one. It produced, you know, some astonishing results in its first season, and looking ahead to Plymouth, we're really in for a fantastic showcase. The boats are exceptional, the athletes are exceptional. The operation behind the scene, you know, Andy mentioned some of the people involved. Some of those people actually were around in 2011. So exceptional experience on the ground, which is really good. So I'm gonna sort of talk a little bit about some of the operational and some of those perhaps unsung heroes behind the scenes, just some of the local businesses involved, but also give a little bit more of a flavour to what the businesses listening to this can expect. There are, dare I say it, you know, with 4 weeks to go, there are still some opportunities. And if anyone is listening to this thinking, actually, we'd like to do something in terms of activating their businesses, I would still reach out at this point. There are opportunities, and particularly around the Inspire program that Nick was talking about. That's where the you know, some of the greatest interest from the city has come. Particularly around clean tech, innovation, and of course the Learning and Inspire program from SailGP. So just to really kick off, I wear two hats within Sail GP. So I'm looking after the on-water operations, which is a relatively straightforward, I guess, thing for most people who've come from a sailing background. But to give you an idea of the scale of it, I mean, these boats are not like they were in 2011. They're more than double, sometimes triple the speed than they were there. So of course Plymouth Sound is not got any bigger as a race course, and we've got as many boats as we had in 2011. So the racing is going to be intense and extreme on a very sort of postage stamp size course, and of course with that brings some challenges from QHM and the operations side to obviously keep everyone safe. At the same time, we are just exiting out of a pandemic. It means that the on land experiences are still going to be relatively challenged because of the government guidance, and so there will be limits around some of the Hoe venues. But the great thing about Plymouth Sound is it's an amphitheatre where there's plenty of places to watch, and actually outside of the Hoe there are places out in Jennycliff and Mountbatten where you'll get absolute ringside viewing of the whole thing. On the water, we are trying to set some records. We've seen upwards of 500-600 boats at some of the other boat venues. So we'd like to see over 1,000 boats on the water in Plymouth Sound to really create that stadium. And of course that also is a safer way for people to get up close to the action. That brings its own challenges. Plymouth is a port, is a harbour. We have to put an exclusion zone in around to keep the sailors away from the spectators, and we have to also protect some of the assets in the Sound as well. So things like the seagrass beds and the marine life and the fauna and flora that are in the Sound all have a part to play. So very extensive work has gone behind the scenes with the National Marine Aquarium and Ocean Conservation Trust and various other partners to identify these type of species and things that we have to flag up in case a marine mammal ends up on the race course, as to what we do with it, and how we carefully cease racing and potentially wait for this little critter to move out of the scene. In terms of local employment, I mean, Andy hinted at this, but there is a vast number of people involved in this event. I mean, we have 35 assets on the water, and that ranges from agencies like the RNLI and the police and QHM and so on, all the way through to sort of health and safety personnel and medical teams. And then I have a marshalling team on the water that's made up mainly crewed by volunteers from Mountbatten and Plymouth Youth Sailing, and so both those marshalling programs, we're equipping, we're training, we're coaching in some cases, bringing a lot of additional skills. You've got young people involved at the sort of real cutting edge of the sport. They're making connections. They're making excellent contacts with this industry. So there is so many more things that you can measure that will probably not end up in some sort of measurement guidance at the end of it. But it only takes, for one person to land on their feet and get an exciting career opportunity out of this. And that's not even to mention the internship program that's going on behind the scene. There's nearly 20 positions that have gone to Plymouth University and to City College students. They'll be working next door to the technical teams, the photography teams, the videography teams, the hospitality teams. So there is some remarkable things happening. I don't want to sort of bang the drum too much, but I think if you haven't as a business got immersed in this event at this stage, you're missing an opportunity. And there are some distinct opportunities, but also let's not forget that the success of this event could well lead to season 3. Season 3, would give us another run at this a year ahead. And the City Council have done a tremendous job stepping in and ensuring this event happens. But of course, now we really need the business community to also join the party and ensure that season 3 happens. So I'm going to finish off now. I've got a very short video I'd like to play you all. This is actually from the Inspire program, because we've already seen some of the racing side, and I know Nick's gonna talk about that. So this is just a short video from Inspire.
This is all about inspiring.
We get kids involved from all around the world,
bringing a new wave of youth into the sport.
Each host venue we go to, we run 3 different programs.
Sailing is such a great sport for young people. These are great life lessons for young people to carry throughout the whole life. Interns are able to come and experience what it's like to be part of one of these teams.
It's the impact that we have which really makes the big difference.
It's been amazing. Once in a lifetime opportunity.
Okay, so thanks everyone. Thank you to the team for inviting me on, and yeah, look forward to any questions you might have.
Thank you so much, Conrad. I think that last piece there is actually the most important of all. It's inspiring young people. I think it's this absolute tragedy that we have Britain's ocean city, and yet 15% of young people in the city have never been to the ocean. That is absolutely horrendous. Where we've got involved with the tall ship Pelican and got young people out on that, 75% of them afterwards have said they wanted a career either on the water or in marine environmental sciences, and they didn't even know those were jobs they could have. So that is, to me, the most important thing. I've got a couple of questions, but if I may, I'll leave that until the Q&A session so we don't overrun. Maybe just one question very briefly, Conrad, because it relates to something you said. We've got this natural amphitheatre. Is there any way people can listen to live audio commentary so that they can get the full experience as the racing's going on? Is it on the radio? Is it on the internet? How can people listen to what's going on?
Yes, absolutely. So on Marine VHF channel, for those that are in one of the sectors, they will be able to listen to the live commentary. We have I think a Simplex channel that will be broadcasting to spectators, and of course, if you're on the Hoe in any of the fan zones, you're going to be able to see action on the live screen and hear commentary as well.
Thank you, Conrad. Yeah, and if we get details of that, we'll share it, how to tune in. It'd certainly be good if we could stream it live through the internet somewhere. That would be great, and I'll follow up with that. So thanks very much. Without further ado, I will hand over to Nick Hutton. Hopefully, even though it's 4:30 in the morning, he's not, or now 5:10 in the morning, he's not fallen asleep on that boat. Nick, are you with us?
Yeah, good morning. The sun's coming up now, so we're all good. But I think Jasmine's got a little video that we'll just throw up first. This is a brief introduction from my side about what Sail GP is as a performance racing boat and the top performance racing class that we have in circuit right now. So if Jasmine can put that video on, we'll carry on after that. She can find it.
Yeah, it's I think she started to. There might be a bandwidth error. Sometimes it takes a second or two. Jasmine?
Yeah, sorry about that. I'll just get it now.
Sorry, mate.
No, it sometimes takes a second or two.
Sorry, it's
okay, just while you're doing that, Jasmine, you just have a play. The other question I was going to ask Conrad, if I may, just while we get the technology sorted, is I have a fear that we'd be judged by Sail GP on this event when we've had short notice, COVID restrictions and blah, blah, blah. Do you get a sense that they understand that and that we can put on an even bigger and even better event and therefore get the next season?
I think you know, it's really important at these sessions that we really do stress that you know, they're all little steps, little journeys that we're on. The value of these events, you know, sometimes can be woefully underestimated in terms of impact. And you know, despite everything that's going on, you know, we have an incredible DNA fit with this event, and I think that's the most important thing to mention, is that, you know, a Taranto or you know, an Abu Dhabi or wherever it is may well have the revenues to be able to fund these type of experiences, but actually we have so much more to gain. You know, we have a thriving marine tech sector. We have a really, you know, a large population of young people, 10,000 on free school meals that actually we need to get down to the water's edge. And so, you know, you can't put a value on the impact of these races. And so for those, you know, listening, including, you know, our political leaders, you know, we've got to look beyond the cost of these things and really, you know, measure the value.
Thank you, Conrad. I can see Jasmine's got the tech running. I've got a couple of questions coming in, so I'll come back to those in a minute. Thank you, Jasmine. Run the video.
Sail GP is a global championship powered by nature. 9 Sail Grand Prix take place across the world, culminating in a winner-takes-all podium race for $1 million. 8 national teams are represented by the world's greatest athletes. Data is shared between the teams, so there's nowhere to hide on the race course. The 8 boats are at the cutting edge of technology, hitting nearly 100 kilometers per hour flying above the water in close quarters combat on short, sharp circuits.
Wow.
So we go. So the boats are pretty cool, and obviously we really enjoy racing them. And I'm super excited to be able to race them at home for me in Plymouth. And unfortunately, I'm going to be racing for the Australians, but you know, is part of it. But at least we're back in England. So Jabs is just going to roll on to the next slide there, and it's just a brief thing of what I've done. So I grew up sailing in Kingswear, opposite Dartmouth, and like all of you guys have alluded to already, it's, you know, a lot is reliant on the support network to get kids into sailing. So I was very fortunate that at the Yacht Club in Kingswear, they have a great youth scheme there. So that's where I started off at age 6 in a Little Optimist, learning how to sail, and from then just moved on through international and sailing series. So, you know, it's been a long fight to get to where we are now, but you know, it's amazing to look back on what we've done and where we've come as a sport in sailing. You know, we started off in non-foiling, very slow boats, and if you look at where we are now with Sail GP, we're doing plus 50 knots, and the sound will feel very small in going at plus 50 knots. So we'll just go on to the next slide, Jasmine, and there's a bit there about the boat. So the F50, kind of given in the name, so it's 50 foot long. We have it's 30 foot wide. With our standard wing, it's nearly 80 foot, and then we have a bigger one for the very light wind venues, which is bigger than that, and then a smaller one if it's super windy. So for everyone watching, if we're on the small wing, it will be super amazing, because that's when we start getting the speeds up, and it all gets a bit hectic for us and great for the guys watching. So the boats are very light, so they're like 2.4 tons. So it's not actually a lot of weight for everything that we're lifting out of the water. So they do go very quickly. As I said earlier, we do like 52 knots, which is 60 miles an hour. So when people are driving down the A38 to get to Plymouth and they're doing 60 miles an hour, that's how fast, you know, we'll be going. So if you put your hand out the window, that's what it feels like for us. So it's pretty full on. And obviously water is a lot more dense than wind. So when you get hit by water, you know about it at 60 miles an hour. We have 5 crew on board, 3 of which don't do a lot, and then, well, they do a lot to keep the boat going fast, but not a lot of exercise. And then 2 of the guys basically power the boat, so we pull the sails in and out and help the guys trim the sails to get the most out of it. What it doesn't show you there is with these boats, we have 2 sides, so we can pull down on one side of the boat with up to 1.5 tons of extra load. So that's what makes us go really fast. So the little foils on the back of the boat, we can put differential in like an aeroplane wing and pull one side down very hard. And then when we tack, we change that and pull the other side down. And that helps the performance of the boat massively. So do you want to go to the next slide, Jasmine? So I just threw this little slide up from Plymouth, and the guys just went back over it a minute ago from 2011. And I still get asked questions about that event in 2011, and people still talk about it. And it was amazing, and there's no doubt about it that it was a huge spectacle for the sport of sailing, but more so for Plymouth, I think. And it did showcase what a great venue Plymouth is for racing in these kind of boats, and just sailing in general. And my real hope is that for Sail GP that we can bring that again to Plymouth, and fingers crossed we have a beautiful Devon Riviera weekend, and we get a glamour 15 to 20 knot sea breeze, and there'll be all sorts of carnage happening on the water, and the hull will be full of people, like it was before the last 18 months. And so I guess that's my major wish for this event, is that we can shine a light on the West Country and Plymouth, and hopefully get a lot more people to come down to Plymouth and see what a great city it is and what it has to offer. Without waffling on too much more, I think we'll go into some questions, Stuart, and see what people have got about the boats or racing and that side of it.
Thank you, Nick. I really appreciate that. I was pleased that I got my statistic wrong, that it wasn't 86 kilograms. I noticed on your slide the average weight 87.5. So I may just, no, I'm still slightly over, but I am still here with my transparent envelope full of cash that will go to any charity for a ride on one of those boats. So integrity being everything. I do joke about envelope stuff with cash, but integrity is everything. I just got a very quick question of Nick Kelly. Nick, have you ordered the good weather? Have you put in that request yet?
Well, I'd like to think I'm good. I went up for the Sail GP photo shots, and it was grey and wet, but the sun did come out in the afternoon. As we've heard, Stuart, Plymouth's great in any weather, but if we can get the sunshine and the winds to give this, the spectacle that it deserves, I've got everything crossed. So if you can all join me on the day before for those 2 days, hopefully we'll showcase Plymouth and give the optimum conditions for the best race conditions.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. Yeah, I mean, Plymouth is spectacular. There's one thing we've got to do for Plymouth is highlight it actually as a 365 days of the year destination. Weather happens in Great Britain, we've just got to deal with it. And I think that's one thing we've been particularly bad at. I have a question from Ashley. I think I'll let him ask it himself. Ashley, would you like to come in?
Thanks, Stuart. Great presentations from everyone. And Nick, what a great opportunity this is for Plymouth to showcase ourselves. I'm just wondering on the hospitality front, whether the council have got involved or will be looking to get involved over the next, very shortly, with local businesses in terms of issues they may have. Stuart mentioned at the start of the meeting, we're well aware of the hospitality shortages due to the dual prong of COVID and Brexit impact. In reality, there could be, I'm hoping, over 100,000 people at the event over the 2 days. If the weather's good, perhaps well into the hundreds of thousands. That will put pressure on local hospitality. Is there a task force or any sort of group the council are looking to perhaps put in place to assist and even advertise jobs on a temporary basis just to help out those local businesses? And if I may, Stuart, as a second point, not for Nick, but a general point, in terms of business support, if there could be any links provided after this meeting for the support that's been called for Sail GP, I'd personally be happy to get involved in that. Thank you.
Ashley, you raised some very, very valid points out. We have got an experienced events team. It is a moving feast with the COVID restrictions. I will take back that suggestion. I'm not aware of any specific advertisements going out, but as you well know, local businesses are very much engaged because it is a golden opportunity for them to showcase their own wares and obviously take money through the tills. In terms of staffing, we are acutely aware in the hospitality sector there is a shortage, but I'll go back. But I've not been informed of any issues for this specific event in terms of catering or indeed a shortfall in labour resources.
It just seemed to me, Nick, that if we could have some coordination rather than leaving individual businesses to try and recruit, that might be helpful for all concerned.
Yeah, I will certainly take that back. I think what we've heard today with some of the sort of salaries, I don't know that anyone will be getting a $25,000 increase on what they've got, but businesses are gearing up and obviously will offer different rates of pay and different benefits. But certainly, I will take that suggestion away and see if we can do something to assist.
Thank you.
Thank you both. I have a question private to me in the chat, probably best answered of Nick Hutton. What happens if it's dead calm? No wind at all?
Yeah,
Not that that's ever happened in Plymouth, you understand.
Yeah, no wind, it is always an issue that, it's a very green sport. So we try to use the force of nature to move us forward. So if there is zero wind, then it's obviously a bit of an issue. But I mean, we do try very hard to make that, to feel our way around that. But we only need about 4 or 5 knots with these boats to get them working. So we don't need that much wind. So we'll just hope that there's more than 4 or 5 knots, and then we'll be good.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be. And I mean, seeing those videos, I think that the telling thing you said there was about water being much heavier and harder than the air. And if you stick your hand out the window at 60 miles an hour, you feel it. Does it hurt if you smack one of these things into the water, if you pitch pole it, if you roll it?
Yeah, it does. Well, there's a highly likely you're going to get hurt at some point. I had a pretty big crash in Bermuda, and I've still got a pretty swollen knee, and that was nearly 8-9 weeks ago now. So the G-force that we go through, in the corners and stuff, it's really hard to tell. But in a taxi, when we're going upwind and we change sides, we're pulling a big amount of G there. So sometimes you'll see people go flying around, and that's just if they get it slightly wrong. And it's like, if you're driving across a field in a car without your seatbelt on, trying to stand in the tray in the back, it's like that basically. So it's, these guys, what they're doing is there's a lot going on. They make it look very simple and very similar to a Formula One driver. They're essentially driving a car, but if any normal human tried to do it, it would probably go wrong.
Thank you, Nick. I've got another question just popped into the chat. Is there any links to SailGP for advertising / financial support? I think that's probably a question for Conrad. And how about advertising any spaces available on the boats or yachts? I think the boats themselves are probably covered with the sponsorship. Is it the overall event that still has opportunities? So Conrad or Nick Hutton? I'm not sure.
Want me to go, Conrad? I think.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay? Yeah.
Okay, Conrad.
I mean, yes to both. There are things like Liveline and the boundary graphics, which enables, companies to overlay, their brands and so on onto the live feed. There will be opportunities in that space right up to the very moment of the race, and equally. Branding on boats. I mean, again, there will be opportunities. They're all going to be fairly high level in terms of cost to activate those sorts of things, and not a huge amount of time. But I would say, yes, there are always opportunities, and if not with the GBR team and with the national teams and with the event, of course, this event then moves on to Denmark after this. So. For larger companies, there's a global network there.
Thank you. And question from one of our charity members: is there any opportunity for charities to be involved, to perhaps be the sort of charity of the event or anything like that?
Well, there's a very specific program around the Inspire, which is focused around these kind of key areas of learning, careers, and racing. And then in addition to that, there is the overriding Race for the Future sustainability program. And so, you know, right now, if you're in any of those sectors, then it would definitely be worth talking to the sustainability team or to the Inspire team. We have just brought the University of Plymouth in to the Inspire partnership. I'm probably able to say that another big college in the university in Plymouth is about to also come into that partnership. So there are some opportunities. It's probably best to drop me an email after this if you'd like to learn more.
Thanks, Conrad. Could you put your contact details in the chat? Is that all right? Are you able to do that so people have got your details if they want to contact you? I have to end this at 10:30. We've got another minute or so. So just before I do, any last urgent pressing questions for the team before I sum up? Any of our presenters? No? Okay. Sorry,
Stuart, I'd just like to say thank you for this opportunity. And you know, you've heard from professional sailors and the excitement they've got with this event. It is one that we want to be a regular fixture for the city. So, you know, if everybody can turn out and make it the spectacle that we all hope and the excitement, it will bode extremely well for SailGP to return in future years and all the benefits that we've heard today to provide to our city. So, and we'll pray for the weather.
I have every faith in you sorting it, and I'll have a word with Bishop Nick as well, see if he can sort it for us. You've actually stolen my thunder, Nick. I was just about to say, can we all do everything we can to make this the event it deserves to be? The sailors on the call, please impress upon the SailGP organisers themselves that this, for Plymouth, this has a bigger impact than it will have on any other city where SailGP is going to be held. This is really, really important. And if they're true to their CSR values, they need to host this in Plymouth regularly going forward. I'm sure, I can't speak for Nick Kelly, but I'm sure he and I would do whatever it takes to get this here within our powers. And guys, this is happening in Plymouth. This is Formula One happening in Plymouth. This is fantastic. So a final thanks once again to our speakers, to Nick Kelly, to Andy Hindley, to Conrad Humphreys, and especially to Nick Hutton for getting up in the middle of the night to join us from America. How very international. Thank you to our patrons. I haven't got time to list them, but they're along the top of my slide here for the work they do that helps me to campaign and lobby on behalf of the business community. Thanks again to our sponsor, CSW Smart Skills, to you all for attending, and to my team for putting on a fabulous event. I really enjoyed that. Thank you all, and we must end it there. Thanks all.